what I understand from what I've read tonight, and stop me if I'm wrong here, guys, because I'm definitely not an expert. This is just with an hour or two's worth of YouTube research and reading. The fins are stepped on the anti-surge design, on what they call like the wicked wheel design. So you'll notice that every other fin on this one is lower. It's a stepped vane design. Okay, so this is the one that I pulled out, and I think someone had either added it or that's the way that the older ones come. They have a little bit louder whine to them, but they don't surge. This is the wheel that came with the kit, and you can see all the fins are the exact same height. So let me just show you side by side here. So see, all the fins are the exact same height, whereas on this one the fins are stepped. So what I think I'll do is I'll probably just stick with the wheel that came out of it to be on the safe side, maybe do a little bit of research. The other thing I noticed about this one is it doesn't actually have threads. It came with a nut, and I'm not really sure how much nut torque spec to put on there versus this one, which has a reverse thread. It's supposed to be a self-tightening design. This one has a nut. I'm just not really sure about that, how much torque to put on it. And I'd rather be safe than sorry. I know this one was in there before and it was working, so I'm going to go ahead and throw that one back in there and see what happens. These are the thrust washers that push oil into the bushings in the turbo bearing housing, the new piece that I was showing you earlier. So these actually sit on the side. One of these does. This is the old one my thumb's touching, and then this is the new one. And you can see how it oils, lubricates 360 degrees, supports, versus the old one there with the notch cut out that's only 270 degree support. So that is something that, you know, everybody recommends that you do. You run the 360 degree washer there, thrust bearing washer, versus the old one there, and my thumbs on again. And then the other thing, not sure how well you're going to be able to see that, but this kit right here, the new kit, this has what they call the stepped gap seals. So these little seals here, they're actually more of like a clip that goes in and kind of clips in. But if you look at these, pull one out to show it to you. So you can see on the very end on this one anyhow, it's got a stepped end to it. So that's a stepped gap end. And the stepped gap in there, that's a newer design, and apparently that's supposed to keep more oil in. That design like that, versus this other kit that I have over here. I'm not sure how well you can see that. I don't really want to open it just to show it to you guys, but you can kind of see it there. It just has flat ends on it, and apparently that leaks more oil than the stepped gap they claim. So I'm going with the stepped gap end design on this kit here. So again, this is the iTurbos kit. That included 4 bolts instead of the all the bolts to rebuild the kit. So I do kind of like the other kit that came, but I'm glad I ordered both kits. I'd rather have 2 kits in case I pinch an O-ring or something. I don't have to wait and then order it again. Order both kits, have a spare on the shelf. It doesn't hurt. It was a little bit extra, I think $30 or $40 a seal kit, but again, I'd rather have extras. These here came from O'Reilly's. I went down and bought these. This is the part that connects to your exhaust manifolds and comes into the turbo, in between the turbo compressor housing. Alright, so the first thing I need to do is to take the rod and prep it by installing the seal. So what I did there is I just kind of separated the ends of the seal just enough to get it up on, worked it up on there. Couldn't quite do it with my fingernails, so I just grabbed some needle nose and just kind of slowly worked it up around the edge there. Try not to damage the shaft at all. Just taking a flathead screwdriver now and kind of working it back up all the way around up onto the shaft so I can get it, slowly work it off of the rod. Just took some very fine sandpaper and removed all of the carbon buildup there. burned on oil, a little bit of fine sandpaper. Alright, so there's the old seal. You can see it's not stepped as the flat ends, so this would be the old style seal. Does not have the stepped ends as opposed to the new one. So this is just a side-by-side comparison of the new seal versus the old seal. The new seal having the stepped in gap and the old one having no stepped in gap. It's just a flat end. Yeah, so the more I clean it up, the more I'm noticing that this one looks like it might be a wicked wheel. I don't know, what do you guys think? Is this a stock turbo from a Garrett, or is this a wicked wheel? You guys let me know. I haven't really seen a stock OEM wheel. This is the China wheel from eBay from iTurbos, and then this is the one that I just bought, or that I pulled out of the turbo just now, that was in there that the previous owner may have installed. And I hear the wicked wheel is very similar to the old school design. Mine's a 97. So it'd be interesting to hear your input, guys, those Ford OBS pros out there. Is this a wicked wheel that the previous owner installed as an aftermarket type thing? Or is this basically just the stock design that came out with the 97s, you know, that they released from the factory with the 97s? What do you guys think? Tell me in the comments below. Alright, I just went ahead and put a little bit of motor oil, a little bit of that Rotella motor oil right here, so I can dip parts in it as an assembly lube as I'm putting it together. You don't want to assemble these dry. You want to put a little bit of lube on there. So the first thing I'm going to do is just take my finger and dip it in there, in the assembly lube oil there, and just kind of put it on this bearing. I'm sorry, not the bearing, on the seal, so the seal will go on easier. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this new seal over the shaft and try and work it on there gently so I don't bend it or break it as I'm putting it on. Kind of start one side and work it around really gently with my fingernail until it's on. Okay, now I've got it on the outer part of the shaft. I'm just going to work down both sides evenly. I got it nice and lubed up so it'll slide down the shaft. Okay, now it's sitting there. Okay, now it's sitting on the channel there, and you can see when you squeeze it together, those gaps come together nice and tight. Hopefully that'll keep the oil in better than before. So, just show you guys a good zoomed in shot of that. Show you guys a good zoomed in shot of the stepped in gap seals. They're supposed to keep the oil inside better. Hopefully there'll be less of the buildup that we saw before getting loose into the exhaust port. The oil will stay in the turbo where it belongs better. So that will be going through this side. So that will be going through this side right here like this. First we need to put our end cap on. So first we need to put the end cap on that we got off of the other center bearing support. Just going to slide that over. That goes on pretty well, pretty snug there. So we have the cap on the new $75 reinforced bushing support. This goes in the center of the two halves of the turbo. Alright, so next I'm just going to put this on here. This little piece that came in the kit with the new seal that came in the kit. This is the smaller one that does not have the stepped in gap. So there you go. This is going to go on here really gently. I already lubed it up. You can see I got oil all over my fingers. It's going to be really gentle. Kind of work one side on and then work the other side on very gently. Okay, it was snapped in nice and smooth. You can see it's kind of got a little bit of a gap there. It compresses when you squeeze it. So next you're going to insert this piece into this piece. You can see there's a little tiny groove in there if you look really carefully. I'm not sure you'll be able to see that on the video or not, but inside of there's a little tiny groove, and that's where this seal is going to sit, is inside of there. So I'm just going to gently push this down in here as even as I can, with the seal side facing down. This is the back side of the turbo plate. Okay, so you can see that's in there now. It's not bound up or anything. It actually spins nice and free in there. Okay, so the next part we're going to do is we're going to install the 360-degree thrust bearing here. Alright, so if we want to take a look at the way that the old one was set up. So this is the old one, and it really only fits in there one way. I mean, if you try and fit it in here the other way, you'll find out that it's like putting, you know, the wrong size block in the wrong size hole. It just won't let you, even if you wanted to try and install it the wrong direction, you really couldn't unless you forced it in there. So it's pretty obvious which direction it goes when you put it in there. You can see that, you know, as long as you know that the flat side goes down and the side with the holes is up, you know, the same way facing the fins, the holes go up. So it's just like that. That's the old one, and you can kind of see the tab at the bottom rocks back and forth between those two little notches there like that. So this is the old one. The new one, just going to leave that there so you can compare it. The new one's really similar. So see how it has the same kind of little groove in the same little spot, but it has one more little groove. So instead of having a big slot here and then a little notch and a little notch and a little notch, it has an extra notch. Instead of having just a big groove here and then a notch and then a notch and then the end, it has another little channel with another groove there. So that provides more lubrication, and that is an upgrade. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in here almost exactly like the old one was, with this new notch here, the new place where this was normally open before. That'll be facing up where the opened end was. You can see it fits in there pretty much only one way. If you did try and install it a different way, you'd see that it doesn't actually it does fit in there, but you can tell pretty much just by seeing that that's not correct by the gap there at the top. You know, that's just not correct looking, and I don't believe when I tried to fit it the other ways it wouldn't fit. When I tried to fit it the other ways it wouldn't even fit at all. So you can tell that there is one definite correct way, and that is similar to the old one, but with the new metal kind of facing up. So the down part right there faces this kind of flat area down here on the backing plate, and the new notch faces up away from the flat area. So the old one's on the right, new one's on the left, tab at the top, notch at the bottom facing the plate there, flat area on the right side. Alright, you can see the little arrow that goes towards the bottom, little circle goes at the top. Again, you want that plate, which is on the circle side, that goes towards the top. This is the bottom of the support bushing here. Here's the round part. So the round part is on the circle side, the side that has this flat plate up. Side that has the flat plate up here, the circle side, that's the round side of the bearing support, bushing support. So I'm just going to hold that in with my back of my fingers here, like that. Rotate the whole thing this way so it doesn't fall out while I'm sandwiching together. I've gone ahead and added this little piece right here. It's like a little spacer, flat spacer. I'm going to insert that with the flat part down, like that. And that sits right down inside of that little collar there. And so this is a look at the old spacer and the old seal. And you can see this is all one solid piece. This doesn't come apart, and the new one has to be two parts because it's a 360. It won't just slide right on there like the other one did. It kind of clipped on in that slot there. The other one, this piece goes on first, and then the thrust washer goes on over that. It's kind of a squarish looking O-ring. Sits in the bearing support. There's a pretty nice little ridge in there. You'll see it. And this piece rides on top of that, which I'm going to sandwich together now. So I'm just holding it like this. The arrow is facing away from me with the circle on the top part. There. Got my O-ring on this time. I'm going to have the arrow on the bottom going into the turbo, circle part on the top on the round part. Hold this part with my fingers as I'm sliding it on. Kind of face the shaft down a little bit and slide this up and on so that it's easier to get on without it falling off. Just make sure you don't pinch your O-ring as you're getting it on there.